Imagine standing at a fork in the road of your financial life. On the left path, you see a man named Arthur. Arthur works hard, incredibly hard. He saves what he can, stuffing cash into a low-interest savings account or under his mattress, believing that safety is the key to wealth. He labors for 40 years, sweating over every dollar, but when he finally reaches retirement age, he looks at his nest egg and realizes something terrifying. He barely has enough to survive. Inflation has eaten him alive. He's tired, he's older, and he's broke. Now look at the path on the right. There stands a man named Julian. Julian worked the exact same job as Arthur. He earned the exact same salary. He didn't win the lottery, and he didn't inherit a fortune. Yet Julian retired 10 years early. He owns his home outright, travels whenever he wants, and his wealth seems to multiply effortlessly, almost as if by magic. While Arthur was working for money, Julian's money was working for him. What was the difference? Was Julian a genius? No. Was he lucky? Absolutely not. The difference comes down to a single, ancient mathematical secret that Julian understood and Arthur ignored. It's not a complex formula involving Greek letters and calculus. It is a simple mental shortcut known as the Rule of 72. This rule is the specific code that unlocks the speed of your wealth. It tells you exactly when your money will double. Arthur's money was doubling every 72 years, too slow to matter. Julian's money was doubling every 7 years. That difference didn't just buy Julian a better car, it bought him his life back. Today, I'm going to hand you that same code. We are going to stop guessing about your future and start calculating exactly how fast you can become free. Albert Einstein is often credited with saying that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it. Our friend Arthur from the opening story, he spent his whole life paying it, paying for inflation, paying for missed opportunities, paying with his time. Julian, on the other hand, earned it. But understanding compound interest can feel abstract. When a bank offers you 0.5% interest versus 7%, it just sounds like small numbers. It doesn't scream life-changing difference. This is where the Rule of 72 changes everything. It is the translator that turns boring banking percentages into the only currency that actually matters: time. The concept is deceptively simple. To find out how many years it will take for your investment to double in value, you simply take the number 72 and divide it by your annual interest rate. That's it. No spreadsheets, no financial calculators. If you have an interest rate of 1%, you divide 72 by 1. The result is 72. It will take you 72 years to double your money. That is a lifetime. That is Arthur's path. But if you can get a return of 10%, you divide 72 by 10. The result is 7.2. Your money doubles every 7 years. Think about the gravity of that difference. In one lifetime, Arthur's money doubles once. In the same lifetime, Julian's money doubles, then doubles again and again, multiplying 8, 9, or 10 times over. This is the difference between working until you die and retiring while you're young enough to enjoy it. In this video, we aren't just going to do math problems. We are going to look at the 3 levers you can pull to hack this rule. I'm going to show you why safe investments are actually the most dangerous risks you can take and how to position yourself on the right side of the equation. We are going to stop letting your money crawl and teach it how to sprint. We need to fundamentally change how we view money. Most people view money as a static object, a pile of cash sitting in a vault. But money is kinetic. It is energy. If it is not moving, it is dying. The Rule of 72 is the speedometer for that energy. It measures the velocity of your wealth, how fast it is traveling toward financial freedom. To understand why velocity matters so much, we have to confront the silent killer of wealth: inflation. Inflation is the constant upward creep of prices. It means $1 today buys less than it did 10 years ago. Historically, inflation averages around 2% to 3% per year. This is where Arthur from our opening story got trapped. He thought he was being safe by putting his money in a standard savings account earning, let's say, an optimistic 1%. Let's apply the Rule of 72. 72 divided by 1 equals 72. It takes 72 years for Arthur's money to double on paper. But while his money is taking a leisurely 72-year stroll to double, the cost of living is sprinting. If inflation is running at 3%, the cost of everything he needs to survive is doubling every 24 years, 72 divided by 3. Do you see the trap? His expenses are doubling 3 times faster than his savings. He isn't standing still. He is running full speed on a treadmill that is moving backward faster than he can run forward. By the time his money finally doubles decades from now, that pile of cash will buy half as much stuff as it does today. Safe investments that don't beat inflation aren't safe. They are guaranteed slow-motion bankruptcy. Now, let's look at the velocity of Julian's money. Julian understood that he needed his money to run faster than the cost of living. He invested in diversified assets, perhaps the stock market or real estate, that averaged a return of around 9% over the long haul. Let's apply the rule, 72 divided by 9 equals 8. Julian's money is doubling every 8 years. The magic here isn't just that it doubles faster, it's the frequency of the doubling over a human lifespan. Let's say both men start investing at age 30 with $10,000. By the time Arthur is 90 years old, his money hasn't even finished doubling once. He has maybe $18,000, which is practically worthless due to 60 years of inflation. Julian, however, experiences a doubling event at ages 38, 46, 54, 62, 70, 78, and 86. That same initial $10,000 hasn't just doubled. It has multiplied over and over again, turning into tens, then hundreds of thousands of dollars. The velocity of his money allowed him to fit 7 or 8 doubling cycles into his life, while Arthur couldn't even finish one. The takeaway is brutal, but necessary. If you don't know the velocity of your money, you are likely losing the race. You don't need more money to start, you need more speed. It's okay, the math is undeniable. We know that slow velocity destroys wealth and high velocity creates freedom. But how do we actually move from Arthur's path to Julian's path? The rule of 72 isn't just a diagnostic tool that tells you how bad things are. It's a control panel. You have levers you can pull to change the output of the equation. The first and most obvious lever is the rate of return. You have to move your money out of the dead zones. If your money is sitting in a standard checking account earning 0.001%, its velocity is effectively 0. You cannot save your way to velocity. You have to invest your way there. This means shifting your identity from a saver to an investor. It means embracing assets designed for growth, like low-cost broad market index funds, real estate, or diversified portfolios that have historically averaged returns between 7% and 10% over long periods. I know the word investing sounds scary to many people. It sounds like risk. But remember what we learned in Chapter 1. The biggest risk isn't short-term market volatility. The biggest risk is the absolute certainty that inflation will erode your savings if you keep them safe in a low-interest account. You have to trade the illusion of short-term safety for the reality of long-term growth. The second crucial lever is time, or more specifically, starting early. Because the rule of 72 dictates a fixed number of years for a doubling cycle, the earlier you start, the more cycles you can fit into your life. Let's say you have an investment that doubles every 10 years. If you start at age 25, you might get 4 or 5 doubling events by retirement. If you wait until age 45 to start, you might only get 2. The difference between doubling your money twice versus 5 times isn't a small percentage. It's millions of dollars. Every year you wait isn't just lost interest. It's potentially an entire lost doubling cycle that you can never get back. There is also a hidden brake on your velocity that many people ignore: fees and taxes. The 72 formula relies on the money you actually keep. If your investments earn 10%, but you pay 2% to a financial advisor and another 3% in taxes because you aren't using tax-advantaged accounts like IRAs or 401ks, your actual rate of return is only 5%. You just increased your doubling time from 7.2 years to over 14 years. You must minimize the drag on your money to keep velocity high. When I first truly understood the rule of 72, I didn't feel excited. I honestly felt a little sick to my stomach. I looked back at years where my money was just sitting there doing nothing while I worked myself into the ground. It feels awful to realize you've been running full speed on a treadmill. If hearing these numbers gives you that little knot of anxiety in your chest, I want you to know that it's okay. We all start there. The financial industry thrives on keeping this complicated, so you feel paralyzed. But you don't have to stay paralyzed. This channel isn't about me lecturing you from a mountaintop. It's about us figuring this out together, removing the mystery, and taking control back. If you're ready to stop running in place and start building real freedom, I'd be genuinely honored if you hit that subscribe button and joined us. It's just a click, but think of it as a promise to your future self that you're done doing things the slow way. And please talk to me in the comments below. What is the one thing that has scared you the most about investing up until now? Let's actually talk about it down there. You are not alone in this. Now that we understand the levers of wealth, we need to talk about the road conditions. Because once people grasp the rule of 72, a dangerous shift often happens in their psychology. They get impatient. They look at 7% or 10% returns and think, that's still too slow. I want to double my money this year. This is where the rule of 72 reveals its double-edged nature. The rule applies to any growth rate, including risk. If you chase an investment promising to double your money in 1 year, a 72% return, the rule of 72 suggests you could be rich instantly. But in the real world, the only things that offer that kind of velocity are scams or gambling. When you try to force the math to go faster than reality allows, you usually end up multiplying your wealth by 0, not 2. Sustainable velocity is about consistency, not intensity. But there is a darker side to this rule that we must confront. The rule of 72 works in reverse. Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world, but he also added, he who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it. When you are in debt, especially high-interest consumer debt like credit cards, the rule of 72 becomes your worst enemy. Let's look at the math of a typical credit card with a 24% interest rate. Divide 72 by 24. The answer is 3. This means that if you make only the minimum payments, your debt is mathematically trying to double every 3 years. While Julian's investments are working to double his freedom every decade, the bank is using the exact same law of physics to double your chains every 36 months. This is why it feels like you can never get ahead when you have debt. You are fighting against a mathematical current that is flowing against you at rapid speed. You cannot invest your way to wealth if the rule of 72 is working against you faster than it is working for you. Finally, we have to talk about the boring gap. The hardest part of the rule of 72 isn't the math, it's the patience. When you start investing, the first few doubling cycles feel underwhelming. If you start with $5,000, waiting 7 years just to see it become $10,000 can feel like watching paint dry. You might look at that $5,000 gain and think, I waited 7 years for this? I could make that in a few months of overtime. This is where most people quit. They interrupt the compound curve because the early results look small. But you have to remember that the doubling happens on the current balance, not the starting balance. The first double gets you $5,000. The second gets you $10,000. But the sixth double, that gets you $160,000 in a single cycle. The seventh double gets you $320,000. The math is identical in every cycle, but the impact explodes at the end. The psychology of speed requires you to endure the boring years at the start so you can enjoy the explosive years at the end. You have to trust the rule even when you can't see the explosion yet. We began this video at a fork in the road, looking at two men, Arthur and Julian. We saw that the difference in their lives wasn't luck or genius. It was simply which side of the equation they chose to stand on. Arthur let the rule of 72 work against him through inflation and fear. Julian made the rule of 72 work for him through investment and time. The harsh reality is that time is going to pass anyway. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. That time will vanish whether you invest or not. You are going to be 20 years older no matter what you do today. The only question is, when you arrive at that future date, will your money have been stagnant, slowly dying in a savings account? Or will it have been working tirelessly in the background, doubling and redoubling, building a fortress of freedom for you? It is easy to feel discouraged if you are starting late. You might look at the math and think you've missed too many doubling cycles. But the rule of 72 doesn't care about your past. It only cares about your trajectory now. The moment you shift your money from a dead zone to a growth zone, the clock starts ticking in your favor. You cannot get back the years you lost, but you can absolutely change the velocity of the years you have left. There is an old Chinese proverb that says, "The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today." The rule of 72 is that tree. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you have enough money to make it worth it. Start the cycle today. Let the math do the heavy lifting so you don't have to. Thanks for watching Logan Insights. If you found value in this, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let's stop working for money and start making money work for us. I'll see you in the next one.